Mysterious Ancient Mariners.
Part 10. The Post-Peloponnesian War Power Vacuum. To Sparta, guardian of the old order, it was a challenge that could not be ignored. Whispers of war grew into cries for action. The stage was set for a conflict that would consume the Greek world. A war not merely of armies, but of ideologies, of democracy against oligarchy, of ambition against tradition. The resulting Peloponnesian War erupted in 431 BC, pitting Athens against a coalition of rivals led by Sparta. What began as a clash of ambitions and personalities would stretch across 27 tumultuous years, interrupted only briefly by an uneasy peace. For Athens, this struggle would ultimately end in ruin, its dreams of eternal dominance and expansion shattered. The Athenians, ever the masters of the sea, wagered their survival on naval supremacy during the grueling decades of the Peloponnesian War. Knowing they could not match Sparta's fearsome land armies, some 30,000 strong, bolstered by reserves, they avoided open field battles and instead fortified their city against invasion. The Spartan hoplites marched across the plains of Attica, burning villages and farmland in their wake, but the Athenians stood defiant behind the long walls. These mighty fortifications encased Athens and extended to Piraeus, securing both the city and its vital port. Within these protective barriers, Athens remained connected to a wider world. A steady stream of cargo ships flowed into Piraeus, their holds laden with grain and supplies, ensuring the city could withstand prolonged siege. Yet the price of safety was steep. The countryside's evacuated villagers swelled the population within the walls, creating overcrowded conditions that soon invited catastrophe. In 430 BC, plague swept through the city like an unseen enemy, indiscriminately claiming lives. Symptoms struck swiftly and relentlessly, leaving a quarter of the population dead in its wake. Even Pericles, the architect of Athens' golden age and the strategist who had guided the city through the war's early years, succumbed to the disease in 429 BC. With his passing, Athens was left rudderless. His successors squabbled over strategy. Some sought peace through negotiation, while others clamored for continued aggression. This discord paralyzed decision-making, allowing the war to grind on until Athens, exhausted by years of conflict, agreed to a fragile peace treaty in 421 BC. The respite was, however, short-lived. In 418 BC, the ambitious and charismatic Alcibiades rose to prominence, urging a return to war. Athens once again launched its fleets, its citizens lured by visions of a restored glory. Despite setbacks, their naval prowess allowed them to prolong the struggle another 13 years. But by 405 BC, the tide had turned irrevocably against Athens. Its once mighty fleet had dwindled to 180 triremes, a shadow of its former glory, and the grain shipments from the Black Sea, the city's lifeline, were now imperiled. Athens sent its remaining triremes to the Hellespont, the vital strait through which Black Sea grain flowed. For 5 tense days, the Athenian crews beached their ships daily to rest and resupply the barren shores, unaware that a Spartan fleet was stalking them. Then disaster struck. Spartan scouts observed the Athenians abandoning their ship to forage inland. Seizing that moment, the Spartan fleet surged forward, catching the Athenian vessels defenseless. It was a slaughter. Only 9 triremes managed to escape, their sails catching a favorable wind as they fled the Spartan onslaught. The unthinkable had indeed happened. The invincible Athenian navy, the cornerstone of the city's power and pride, was no more. In a single, crushing blow, Athens' dominance of the seas ended. The Spartans, determined to prevent any resurgence, exacted a grim and symbolic punishment. To the mournful notes of flutes, Athenians and Spartans alike tore down the long walls, the very fortifications that shielded the city for decades. Their collapse not only marked the end of war, but also the end of an era. With the long walls reduced to rubble, a Spartan garrison installed in the city, and its people subdued, Athens' ambitions lay in ruins. Yet, even in defeat, the legacy of the city endured. The ideas, art, and ideals that had flourished within Athens' walls outlived its fleeting empire, shaping the course of history in ways that no conqueror could ever dismantle. Even in the shadow of its humiliation, Athens retained its indomitable spirit. The merchants of Piraeus, seasoned navigators of the Mediterranean's intricate web of trade, kept their networks intact. The city's survival depended on their resilience. Grain shipments from the Black Sea, fine goods from Egypt, and luxuries from Asia Minor continued to flow through the harbor, sustaining Athens and keeping its legacy alive. Yet, while Athens clung to its maritime lifeline, the winds of change were gathering yet again, destined to sweep through all of Greece. This transformation began in 359 BC when Philip II ascended to the throne of Macedonia, a rugged kingdom to the north. Philip was a man of boundless ambition and a strategic genius. Though the cultured Greeks to the south dismissed him and his people as unsophisticated barbarians, Philip saw Athens and its city-state brethren as glittering prizes ripe for conquest. To realize his vision, Philip revolutionized warfare. He forged a professional army, its backbone the formidable phalanx. This tightly packed formation of 256 soldiers created a moving wall of destruction. The first 5 ranks of infantry were equipped with 14-foot spears, forming an impenetrable hedge, while the ranks behind rested their weapons in readiness. Whether deployed as individual units or as a massive collective, the phalanx was devastating, clearing the way for Philip's elite cavalry to shatter the enemy lines and scatter their forces. Philip's military machine was matched only by his political cunning. Through a combination of coercion, marriage alliances, he had as many as 7 wives, and shrewd diplomacy, he played the fractious Greek city-states against one another. His strategy bore fruit. By 338 BC, Greece was firmly under Macedonian control. Athens, once the unchallenged leader of the Hellenic world, now found itself subordinate to a northern conqueror. Philip's ambitions, however, extended far beyond Greece. His gaze turned eastward toward the Persian Empire, the sprawling dominion that stretched from the shores of Asia Minor to the distant borders of India. He dreamed of subjugating this vast territory, uniting it with Greece under his rule. But fate intervened. In 336 BC, as Philip prepared to embark on his grand campaign, he was assassinated. Rumors swirled as to the culprit. Some whispered of Persian intrigue, others pointed to Olympias, Philip's first wife, jealous of her rivals. And some, more boldly, accused Philip's own son, Alexander, a brilliant but fiery young man whose ambitions may have eclipsed even his own father's. Whatever the truth, the mantle of power fell to Alexander, just 20 years old, but already a force to be reckoned with. While some in Greece feared chaos under such a young ruler, Alexander wasted no time in proving them wrong. He inherited not only his father's plans to conquer Persia, but also his drive and military acumen. Yet Alexander's vision extended even further. Alexander imagined the known world, Europe, Africa, and Asia, as a single, interconnected whole. To him, the great ocean that surrounded these lands was not a barrier, but a bridge, a pathway for exploration and unification. In 334 BC, at the age of just 22, he launched his legendary campaign to conquer the world. His forces were unlike any seen before, including not only soldiers but also shipwrights and sailors. Alexander's mission was not merely conquest, it was to chart new sea routes and connect the lands he would bring under his rule. As Alexander and his army marched eastward, their journey would reshape history. In his relentless pursuit of empire, Alexander carried forward not only the legacy of Macedonia, but also the cultural achievements of Greece. Athens, no longer a dominant power, would see its ideals, art, and knowledge woven into the fabric of the vast territories Alexander sought to unite. The age of independent city-states was over, but a new golden age beckoned, a fusion of Greek ingenuity and Macedonian might that would leave an indelible mark on the ancient world.